Hey guys, hands free. I got my tripod that I referred to in my first video I just put up. That was about the explosion at Nevada University. So let's be sure and keep those kids in our prayers. Okay, this is the fourth time I have tried to make this video and everything keeps changing. So hopefully I will get this one up for you to make you aware. If you haven't just heard a few minutes ago, and I'm not quite sure of the time, there was a 7.1 earthquake that hit Ridge Park, California. Same basic area of the 6.6 that they downgraded to 6.4. There were 5 house fires, several gas line explosions that evacuated the hospital, and now 7.1. Dutch Sense had DUTCHSINSE. Check his channel out. He is awesome at predicting these earthquakes around the world. His reliability rate is so good that the USGS has had him shut down last year 2 or 3 times. And because he has got all of his information, his numbers, everything recorded, and he is so on target, they have to let him go. Caltech has called him a conspiracy theorist when, he had predicted the first one. Unfortunately, he always hopes they don't happen, but he wants people to be prepared. And USGS, tries to hide all of the information that they possibly can. All of us in the real world refer to them as USBS. We typically get our more reliable information from the EU geological information. So I just wanted to make you aware that that 7.1 hit, and there were reports Mary Greeley's mother apparently lives near this area and is keeping her abreast of some local news, which is always best if we can get the local news. But there were reports that in the 6.6 that they now have upgraded back to the 6.6, that canned food was coming out of people's cabinets and shooting across the room like bullets. Now this is a 7.1. So Dutch Sense had already projected that California had bigger ones coming. We have already had 2 in Vancouver, Canada, which is at the beginning of the Cascadia subduction zone. If you're not familiar with that plate, please tune in to Marfugel TV and look for his videos about the Cascadia subduction zone. The naval maps are projecting that if that thing blows, that the West Coast will end up in Idaho. I mean, that's going to be a biggie. And these huge earthquakes that are taking place in California can affect that Cascadia subduction zone. It is registering at Yellowstone. There is more activity that the USGS is trying to hide on Yellowstone's activity. We have Mary Greeley, Greeley, Mary Greeley News. If you're not familiar with Mary, please, by all means, go subscribe to her. She is on top of Yellowstone. I mean, she's in South Dakota, and she keeps on top of what's going on there that the USGS tries to hide from us. And guys, she is 98,000 plus subscribers. We could really get her to her 100,000 so she could get her phone call to YouTube if she had a problem. But the initial reason, and I apologize for messing with my bangs. I've got to cut my bangs. I've apologized to you in every video I've made tonight. And this is number 5, 4 on the earthquakes. But this is the final one. It's going up. The reason that I wanted to bring these, excuse me, earthquakes to your attention is in the projections that Dutch Sense gave out this week. He had mentioned how that energy travels, from one side to the other, and he has projected that the energy from these California quakes is going to travel east. And we've got, you know, Yellowstone to be looking at. We've got the New Madrid fault line to be looking at. And he specifically mentioned that these earthquakes very well could travel all the way to Virginia. So I'm in West Virginia. We have, you know, neighbors from Virginia in our family. And I wanted to point out that, you know, this energy is going to be traveling. He said that we should be able to track these as they go all the way across the United States with the displacement of this energy from these earthquakes. And this 7.1 is not the biggest one. This, you know, these swarms of earthquakes could very easily kick off the San Andreas. It could kick off, you know, the Cascadia subduction. If it travels east and they get, you know, in depth enough, they could kick off the New Madrid fault. We've got the Appalachian fault that runs nearly exactly the state border of West Virginia and Virginia. And, you know, the mining states, you know, they talk about all of the tunnels that are, you know, what are they being used for across the United States? All of the mining states, we are tunneled out underneath them. If we had a major earthquake, you know, we would just have ground collapsing everywhere. But I wanted to warn our Virginia friends since Dutch Sense, and it's DUTCHSINSE, specifically mentioned that it could travel all the way to the East Coast into Virginia. So we need to keep our eyes open, you know, keep on top of these earthquakes that are happening, watch your surroundings. I want everybody to be safe. You know, I cannot understand why the USGS is not making everybody aware of what is going on. They are taking information down. They are lowering the magnitudes of the earthquakes. They are turning monitors off. You know, it's unfortunate that our more reliable information is coming from the geological surveys in the EU. You know, this is ridiculous. I don't know if they're afraid of panic, but, you know, people need to be prepared. You know, this area that was hit this week in California, those people were not prepared at all. They were devastated. And now another one has hit. And Mary Greeley said that she's in South Dakota, and she said the chain on her lamp barely moved, but it did move, and it made her head swim. So if that 7.1, if she could feel that in South Dakota, you know, that energy is going to keep displacing. And, you know, Dutch Sense has warned that more are coming. Mary Greeley also had reported, it was in my previous video, that, you know, the area that was hit with the 6.6 in California, they have reported 1,000 aftershocks. And she has looked, you can pull these up on the USGS and the EU geological sites and look at the times and the size of all of these earthquakes that are taking place around the world. So you don't have to take my word for it or Dutch Sense's word for it or Mary Greeley's word for it. You can pull these two sites up and they have these earthquakes listed. Yes, I talk with my hands. Somebody told me one time if somebody tied my hands behind my back, I'd explode. It's probably the truth. But you can pull this information up yourself and keep up with it. But this energy is going to be displaced. You know, the Cascadia subduction zone, the last time it blew, it sent a tsunami to Japan that was over 300 feet tall and or high, however you know, describe it. So, you know, this is going to not just affect a few people and a couple of towns. We need to be praying for all of our West Coast family members. We need to be praying for this nation. This nation is rocking and reeling. Our heavens are rocking and reeling. You know, tune into Brian Knight and look at all of these CMEs that are coming off of the sun right now. The Bible says to look to the heavens for signs. We are getting signs. If the heavens can control the tide, they surely can control these fault lines and these tectonic plates. So I just want everybody to be careful, be prepared. you know, for anything. We could have any kind of devastating event. It is not a zombie apocalypse in any way whatsoever that myself or any other person that is trying to be awake and be prepared, that's not what we're preparing for. It can be any kind of event. And right now, these earthquakes are just one right on top of another around the world. If you will tune in to Dutch Sense, or if you'll pull up the USGS or the EU Geological Survey site, you will be astounded at how many earthquakes we have on a daily basis around the world. And there is devastation all around the world with hugely high numbers of earthquakes, and the magnitudes are through the roof, and that is not being reported to us. So, you know, it's not fear-mongering. This is not fear porn in any way whatsoever. Pull these sites up. Check out Mary Greeley. Keep up with Yellowstone. These earthquakes are definitely going to pick up, and Yellowstone has already picked up activity, and the waters have heated up. They have closed off a huge amount of Yellowstone and will not let, you know, people go because the waters are so high. One of the warm springs last year that a gentleman was used to going to and taking a dip, he dove in and the man was just burned to death from the heat of the water. They have closed off some of the visitor crosswalks that go across the little pools of water at Yellowstone because the temperatures are so high, people can't walk on those crosswalks. So it's moving lava, it's moving the plates, it's moving these fault lines. So I am not here to try to scare you in any way. I am here to inform you, educate you, and just want you to watch what is going on around you. So I love you all. Thank you so much for the love that you show me. I appreciate it every second of every day. And always remember, share the love and the truth will come, and never be scared. Just be prepared. Much love until I see you next time. Bye-bye.